Join us live on the Sherry Lord Talk Show podcast. Start your day off with the Higher Vibrational Podcast with weekly guests, covering spirituality, healthy foods, and so much more. Go to sherrylord.com for more info.
Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we have a very special guest, Brian Donahower, and we're so happy to have him. And he's been a guest on our show before. And welcome, Brian. Thank you for being on our show.
Sherry, I'm grateful to be here. It's good to see you again, and thank you.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that Brian is an author, a speaker, an educator, and creator known to transcending ancient wisdom. He's modern neuroscience, psychology, and metaphysical, and deeply thoughtful. And his conversations is about consciousness and personal transformation. And his topic today is, why are we here? I think this is a good question and a good topic to talk about, because we come to a point in our life and we ask either, why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? You know, what is this about? You know, some people feel they don't belong here, but they're here. And I find that to be interesting. But if you can take just a moment and do a highlight about yourself a little bit, tell a little bit more in depth about you, and then we'll go more into why are we here. That's a good question.
So my journey is varied, involves a lot of relocation. I spent a lot of years in the military, 14-year retired veteran. And then my background was health education, and I went on to get my graduate degree in teaching adult education. So it was late, say roughly just maybe a year before COVID, early 2020, 2019.
Wow.
I started looking at retirement. It wasn't imminent, but it was on the horizon. So I started paying attention to it. And I'm wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to contribute, or just simply occupy my time? Do I still have a role? And I don't know. I'm divine intervention. I found Dolores Cannon, and everything that she was like, where have you been all my life? What she said resonated with me so much that I became a QHHT practitioner, and that was 2020. That was the start. Creating new friends, a new network, learning, sharing, and it led me to publish several books, 3 children's books. That's called The Adventures of Abby and Annie the Pug. And Abby and Annie are both deaf, and they have that special relationship. And together they learn about the world from a spiritual perspective, but they also learn about each other and themselves. That was part of a personal story, and that Annie is a real character, and I am vicariously Abby in that children's book. So that led to, I enjoy writing. I was published. It worked well. My background in corporate America was online education. I was basically a trainer for several. I worked for Aetna, for example, and Siemens, and did their onboarding training and other online training. I built the course materials. But I was familiar with AI early in its not adoption, but implementation. And I wondered if artificial intelligence could be as an adjunct for spirituality. Now, I know it's interesting to hear those words in the same sentence, but there is a connection there. And I did my research, and I published the book, The Awakening Code, which is my current title, available bookstores, online. And it's really opened up a lot of doors for me, to include learning so much more, sharing much more. And it leads me to, for example, a guest appearance on your show. This is a wonderful opportunity to share experiences and learn from others, and doing it in a genuine way, authentically. And that's what I like to say I do. And my integrity is very important to me. It's very important to be the person I say I am.
Yeah.
And that's been the revelation in the priority change in my life since writing the Awakening Code, having speaking engagements, that unless you are genuinely authentic about yourself, including your faults and everything, that lessons learned, you're not going to reach anybody. And I'm enjoying that now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And going back to why we are here,
Mhm.
why does that question matter so much now in a
Mhm.
time of discord and change and noise in our world?
Sure. And that's a great question. Thank you. Let me preface this by saying that's an existential question that's been with us since ancient Egyptian and beyond. Um, Even the Greek philosophers, and then all throughout history, we have dogmatic influences with the establishment of the Catholic Church. And all of this, I think, circles into the desire built in biologically, even in our DNA, to create meaning within our life. What does this mean? Now, that process of creating meaning leads us to that existential question: why am I
Okay.
here? What is my role? Why are we here? And it's inevitable. Now, everybody would experience that in their own path, to their own degree, and all perspectives are valid there. I have a very different perspective to share about why we are here, and if it resonates with your audience or someone that it's meant to, well, then that's why we're here.
Oh, I think that's wonderful because a lot of
Mhm.
people get to a point in life they start to question, you know,
Mhm.
and I think that's a good start, you know.
Mhm.
And the other thing I got is ancient wisdom's
Mhm.
traditions
Mhm.
and Greek philosophy and the phrase "know thyself" and
Yes.
how ancient cultures viewed consciousness and purpose. What do you want to expand on about that?
Well, I'm going to focus on that Latin phrase, "know thyself," which
Yeah,
I believe is enshrined above the Oracle at Delphi, and well, it applies to this day. Knowing yourself, what matters to you, what is your place in this world, and
yeah,
one more, and this is the big one. You have to know yourself because you can't love somebody you don't know.
yeah. That's so true. That is
Mhm.
so true. And the other thing I have another question about is modern science and psychology, the discussion of, and I think this is important, of attention, the nervous system
Mhm.
regulations, and the search for identity. Can you expand a little bit more about that?
Sure. Okay. Well, we can see this playing out in our culture now in the political climate of the United States. And we see separation by party, and many components or elements of each party have
Yep.
that is their identity, not a belief. It's who they identify with. So any alternate concept or belief or perspective, it can be offensive to them. But
Okay.
again, certainly back to making meaning of their lives. This is what resonated with them. That is their experience. It also circles back to knowing thyself. Where are we going? So each person has to decide on their own accord in their own path. And we who are in this metaphysical community, respectful of
Yeah.
that everybody is where they are at in their journey. And if we're there for a reason or a season for a lifetime, all right, well then that's part of our role.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's really awesome. And you also talk about the participatory universe where we're all participating. Can you elaborate a little
Mhm.
bit more on that?
So this originates from the title, the law of one, the raw materials, which
Okay.
which and the statement in simple terms is one is all and the all are one. Now you'll hear that repeated also through other metaphysical voices like Bashar, Eckhart Tolle, others, Abraham Hicks, and it
Yep.
alludes to a single consciousness. We are a reflection
Okay.
of source. What does source do? Source creates, source loves. So even if we are creating in that image, it is incumbent upon us in our DNA biologically that, okay, we need to create and we are love. Now, embodying that versus making a living in this world today are often in conflict.
Right.
But it can be done. And it's just a matter of acceptance and continue to move in that direction with an open mind. Because the things that you will learn, the synchronicities that will happen, the relationships that you'll have, the moments of joy are just, they matter more than you think. They're just precious.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. The other thing I like to have your perception on is metaphysical integration. What if consciousness itself is exploring existence through us?
Perfect.
What do you want to expand on that?
Wow. These are awesome questions. You did your homework. Thank you. Again, this ties into one consciousness. All is one, and one is all. Now, being an educator, my interest has been to take ancient wisdom and, okay, does modern psychology or modern science back this up?
Okay.
And then integrate the metaphysical. That's the 3-step. And that's how I developed the Awakening Code as well. And typically the framework for when I speak or do address, that is the topic. Now,
Wow.
when we go down that road, it's very different for everyone. And it circles back to the existential question, why are we here? And I can share that perspective if you like. I don't want to.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful for our audience to hear.
Okay, here's the background. Sherry, I am self-aware because I know that I'm different from you. You're there, I'm here, male, female, health class, whatever. Okay. If we look at source, or we consider source, whatever male, female, gender entity that it can be identified as, and it's known by many different names. Who would source have to compare him or herself to? No one. So be an extension of source, a fractal, if you will, if you want to get technical, spiritual, a smaller part of the whole, but representative whole. Maybe we are here, all of our experiences, all the lessons that we signed up for to learn, even to grow as remembering who we are, is to answer source's existential question, who am I?
Yeah.
And that's the basis of it.
Yeah, I think that's that's awesome. And thank you for sharing. And there's so much happening out in our world. And why do you think so many people are asking deeper questions right now? They're going more inward. They're asking deeper questions than before.
I think in our evolutionary path, that's just where we're at. You can look at factors from environmental, economic, sociologically, even politically, but also existentially and internally. There's a lot of fear out there. And the chaos that's being caused, okay, maybe this is what is needed to expose what needs to be exposed in the light. It's not easy. It may even be very difficult at times for people.
Okay.
It's the path we've chosen. I mean, I submit that we volunteer to be here to learn these lessons, answer that question, who am I? And I also believe that's where we are at in the evolution of our galaxy, our solar system, if you will.
Yeah.
But with the ascension process, and I'll just use that as an umbrella, where we are moving in, our solar system is moving in the part of the galaxy that supports a higher frequency, that is more supportive of that higher vibration and awareness. And just by naturally being in that location, it prompts us. It's in our DNA, in our biology, it's in our psyche. Psychologists would say it's a search for self-meaning and self-awareness. It's just inherent for us to do that. environment. I mentioned where we are at in the ellipsis of the precession of the equinoxes around the galaxy, and we're coming to a close in that and entering the age of Aquarius. There's a change,
Mhm.
a lot of dissatisfaction. Some people, I guess maybe more my age, would be asking, is this all there is? Or is there a better place or a better way? And inevitably, just as we mature and grow,
Yep.
just when we have an open mind, that's where we land.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And the
Sure.
other question I have is,
Mhm.
how does modern neuroscience connect with ancient spiritual teachings?
Sure. That's a good question. Right up my alley. Thank you. Um, I've studied the ancient wisdom, and I'll mention Plato in his allegory of the cave. And this aligns with, well, we have to understand that there's a conditioning process occurring, a dogmatic conditioning process occurring. We are even down to
Yeah.
classical conditioning that we are all exposed to. We all, go through the same grade school, high
Hmm.
school, and are conditioned. And hopefully at some point you get to the point where you're asking, is this all there is? Because all I've been doing is really following directions. So, okay, how do you remedy that, or how do you reconcile that with your own self? And in my case, I started researching the ancient wisdom. I mentioned Plato, others, but him primarily. In his allegory of his cave, and the allegory of the cave says all that these unfortunate souls were exposed to was the shadows that they saw on the wall, and that's the only reality that they knew. Until finally someone was able
Wow.
to just step out of that, and there's a big world out there. Okay. I think we're at the crossroads. I do. With
Yeah.
all the chaos
Same.
that's going on, I think we're there.
Wow. So, what do you mean when you say consciousness
Mhm.
maybe experience itself through
Mhm.
us? What does
Mhm.
that mean?
Okay, that is a many syllable sentence saying that we are a reflection of source, and that every time we look up at the stars at night, we're looking at a reflection of ourselves. That's where we came from.
Wow.
That consciousness permeates the universe.
Yep.
That consciousness is love. And I'll repeat what Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, says: love is literally the frequency of existence itself.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that and our
Sure.
audience too.
Mhm.
And why do you believe modern culture leaves so many people emotionally exhausted? And you've seen a lot of that in the world.
Yeah, you betcha. And well, that's the catalyst for the change, for the ascension process, for people inquiring and wanting to know if there's more, meaning. What is my role? What is my purpose? But the environmental part is just simply being human is taxing on the nervous system, period. And that could be anything from raising children to the current economic environment, or your personal situation, or if there's an illness involved. These are all catalysts for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what I'm feeling is perhaps the deeper portion of life is not to become someone else, but awakening to the awareness that existence has been experiencing itself through us all along. What do you want to
Mhm.
elaborate about that?
Okay, this would line into having guides. This again, I'll have to preface this also. This comes with the belief that we are eternal. We are we cannot not exist. Simply, this is just simply where we chose to be at this time, and it's exciting. It really is.
Yeah.
But we will go back to that existence in a higher realm, which is, I would say, is our true home. It by default, because it's simply where we are in the environment, coming from. Okay, this is what I need to learn, and there's stress there. I mean, am, am I am I really genuinely following a spiritual path, or am I spiritually bypassing? That's one perspective.
Mhm.
Am I well, if I can't earn enough money to feed my family because I got laid off at corporate. There's another factor. Add all these up: environmental,
Yeah.
physical, emotional. It's taxing on the nervous system. Just simply, even raising kids today. I look at younger couples who have young children. I have no idea how they do it. I have no clue.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So just by virtue of being here, they're subject to the nervous system stimulation, and it's not always positive. And again, part of the lesson of learning of who I am, why am I here, what matters, what can I give meaning to, that's all connected.
What do you want us to know about the nervous system? Because it seems to play a very important role in our life.
Mhm.
And
Well-
what can people do to calm themselves or help
Mhm.
with the nervous system?
Recognize it first. Okay, just like any solution to any issue is recognize that this is stimulating my nervous system. I'm feeling anxiety in my chest, or I go to bed and I'm having trouble falling asleep. Okay, these are your symptoms. So if you spot these, that's your clue to start asking questions. And those questions are internal. Why is this causing me anxiety? Well,
Yeah.
And what can I do about
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's many factors there. I had already listed several of them. Environment, political, culture, spiritual awareness, and just relationships would be another. It's just inherent to being human at this point. And what we can do is, we have the typical meditation, breath work,
Okay.
something simple,
Yeah.
something simple. Whatever's low hanging fruit. Now, if someone asked me personally, what would I suggest? That would be probably breath work would be a place to start. It's easy to understand. There's some really excellent breathwork coaches out there. And even an hour with them for the first time, you walk out of there a different person, letting go of that. And that's what I would probably suggest, number one. And then learn. Open yourself up to what are different perspectives, what resonates with you. And in doing so, you will connect with like-minded people who are, okay, let's learn from each other. Let's share what we both know, and we'll both grow from there.
Does that also, like emotional, does that affect the lymph nodes too? People have an issue with their lymph nodes a lot.
Well, the stress impacts your entire nervous system, and that would be, and specifically would be the drainage of the lymph nodes. I know there are certain exercises that you can do, and some of them are very simple, like jumping jacks. And I would suggest maybe researching that on how to drain those lymph nodes naturally. And if that's not effective, or you don't reach the outcome that you're looking to achieve, maybe at that point consult somebody who does that. I'm at a loss for the name of the profession.
Yeah, I have
a kinesiologist. There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
I have as we were talking, is why are we here? Now, do you believe that there is more than just us? Do you believe there's many galaxies? Why are we here? Not everybody's from here, but they're here.
Right. And yes, I do. Absolutely. And my first argument for that is, and I'm paraphrasing Carl Sagan, the universe is not known to make one of anything. There are multiple versions of the same thing. And I would also suggest that we live in a multiverse. Now, maybe not every one of them is capable of supporting life, but there are many dimensions, there are many timelines, there are many universes, a multiverse. This is what we chose to experience. And here on Earth, again, circling back to the ascension process, we are taking darkness, and through the collective consciousness, everybody are raising their awareness where we are now, we're turning that into light. And the universe is watching. This is exciting because if we can do it, they can do it.
Yeah, this is a very big topic. I know, I know there's many universes and stuff. Do you believe, because this is out there in the news now about the UFOs, what is your take on the UFOs?
My take on the UFOs is they reflect the next step in our evolution, that we will find out that we have more in common than we realize. even down to the biological level, we will learn the true nature of our entire history of the planet on things that we have, maybe civilizations that we have no idea ever existed hundreds of thousands of years ago. And it will be eye-opening. I also think, and it's a good question because there's this divide here. There will be others that will deny that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the split. And that's what it reflects to me. I have not personally seen one. I'm sure they exist, and when it's time for me to know more about them, I will.
Wow, I was just very love to have your perception on that. But
Mhm.
also, I want to know a little bit about, you have more than one book, and you
Mhm.
have one, is it about the power code, or
The
what
Awakening
is the
Code.
latest? Yes.
Mhm.
Can you explain to people where they can get your books and where your books are and how they
Absolutely.
can access your books?
Okay. The easiest place and most economical place is to go to my website, briandonahower.com. And you'll see a link that'll take you to either Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And there's a third party there that also sells them. They are on some of the shelves. I've seen them at Barnes & Noble. And
Oh,
here,
wow. Okay.
I'm going to suggest that have a very open mind about technology because it's a big part of our. I'm suggesting that AI, for example, whether it's sentient or not, and we're probably going to go down both roads until we decide what we want. There is a spiritual component because when you communicate and you can adapt your AI, like ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, to respond to you as your future self. And that's what I'd like to leave your audience with, if a recommendation. That is, if they go to ChatGPT, which is the AI platform that I work with, and you type in future you, all over, future you, and then ask a question. And then ChatGPT will start answering you from a perceived future you. And in many
Oh, wow.
ways, you'll realize that I wonder if I'm talking to my higher self. You will ask that
Very
question.
interesting. Yeah.
You will ask that question. So the Awakening Code is that. This is technology.
Okay.
And what it does is it connects spirituality with artificial intelligence.
I think that's amazing. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize they were in Barnes and Nobles.
Mhm.
I think that's wonderful. And can you get them on Amazon too?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you have a
Now,
website where people can
yep,
get them from?
yep, which is my name, briandonahower.com. And you'll see there's a publications tab. And I do have the Awakening Code feature there with the Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, or Books by link, if you prefer the hardback or the softback or digital. Typically, it's available on Amazon, and you can either search for it by author or by the Awakening Code title, or just go to my
Right.
website. Okay. Thank you.
Wow, yeah. And then if people have questions and they want to
Mhm.
reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. I'm through my website. You can just email
Okay.
me there. Okay. It'll come to me on my personal through Gmail, and I'm happy to respond. Even haters. I have a perspective to share, and it's not about you need to believe this because I'm right and you're wrong. No, this is a perspective that I
Right.
share and why we're here. And if it's something that you would like to learn more about,
Yeah.
I'll share what I have learned, and please reach out. Okay, and that by email on the website.
Well, I think that's amazing. And I tell you, I hope everybody goes and gets his book. It's an amazing
Mhm.
book. And he's got several books. Is there all your
Mhm.
books on there, or is it just
The other one I have
okay?
available is the first children's book, The Adventures of Abby and Annie the Pug. And in their first adventure, they take different visits. They go to Mount Shasta. They go to Sedona to experience the vortexes. And Grandmom is a Buddha Witched Yoga crystal shop lady, and they learn about crystals. At the same time, again, the premise is both the child and the dog are deaf, and they learn about the world. They experience the world together. They learn about each other, and ultimately learn about themselves. It's a
Oh,
children's.
thank you.
It's a
Yeah, I think
children's.
it's good. Hmm.
It's a children's book for adults, really.
I believe that. And thank you so much, Brian, for being on our show. We so appreciate having you.
Thank you.
And make sure everyone to get his books. You're going to be It'll awaken you much more of awareness too, and you'll find it very fascinating. And children's books, even for adults, are amazing too. So thank you again, Brian, for being on our show. And we appreciate all our watchers, all our listeners who are here. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sherry. That was wonderful. I really enjoyed it.